book of Philippians, chapter 3. Philippians, chapter 3. We're asking that if you walked in here and you're able to stand, that you'll stand for the reading of the Word of God. This isn't about us right now. It's all about Him. And so we come this morning in order that we might bless His name, in order that we might say to Him, we know we didn't make it this far on our own, but it's because of Him. And it's because of Him we live, we move, and we have our very being. On last week I began talking to you on this series of messages. Well, really it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I got back to it last week. In 2 weeks I'll be in Ohio, and they've asked me to spend a lot of time in this particular chapter in this book. So I don't know no better guinea pigs. I'm just teasing. I'm just glad to be with you and to know that God is blessing us in His Word no matter what we study. And so I want to continue to walk with you. Last week we talked about Paul's letter to the Philippians as he examined his life. He said to them, I've reached the turning point. You might ought to get that lesson if you weren't here last week. So you might miss something this week. But Paul says, I've gotten to the point in life where I have examined, first of all, myself. And in examining myself, what I discovered was that I had all my priorities wrong. I was fixated on my past accomplishments. But I now know that those things that were gained to me, he says, I've done some adding and subtraction. He says, and let me tell you what I found out. They really don't mean a thing. He said, I counted them all but loss for the excellency of Jesus Christ. And so today I want to go back and I want to continue right where we left off when Paul talks about that I've got to go on. I can't stay where I am because I recognize there's no growth where I am. I'm not going anywhere. I'm like a bear. I'm making tracks, but I'm not getting anywhere. And so what I'm determined is that I've got to press on. And that's where I want to start this morning. So if you have your Bible, if you are somewhere around the 12th verse, will you say amen? Amen. Your Bible should say something like this. I'm not saying that I have it all together, or that I've made it, but I am well on my way. I'm reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. Verse 15 says, so let's keep focus on the goal, that those of us who want everything God has for us, and if any of you have something else in mind, something less than a total commitment, God will clear up your blurred vision, and you'll see it after a while. Then y'all say amen. Amen. Go ahead and be seated. It's good to see those of you that are visiting with us. It's good to see each and every one of you. This morning, this text this morning provides for us a scene. I talked about it a little bit last week where Paul is in the middle of an examination. And what he's found out, while he glories in some things, Paul says, in essence, but you don't know my story. You're looking at me where I am now, and you're glorying in what you see. He said, but can I share with you the real story? Can I tell you what's behind the mask? Can I share with you a little bit of me? And so he goes on to say to them, listen, I have not obtained, I'm not where I want to be. And so in doing so, he goes on and he gets to the point where he says, but listen, I'm not where I want to be, nor am I where I should be. But let me tell you this, I'm off and I'm running. Why? Because I know God's got something for me. As a matter of fact, not only does he have something for me, he's got more for me than I want for myself. Amen. He says, I'm no longer confused about it. Yeah. And so in examining this, I want you to feel the tension in the text. Listen to what Paul says as he goes through. He talks about something that all of us can agree with, and that is life hurts. Yes. Life hurts. You don't have to live very long. It doesn't mean you have to be here a long time to understand that life hurts. You'll agree with that statement, I believe. The painful reality. Don't start, Jerry. The painful reality hits all of us. Yeah. And I don't care who you are. Sooner or later, you're going to collide with the fact that life hurts. One of these days, your heart is going to be broken. One of these days, your spirit will be shattered. You're going to get to the point where you don't even feel like going on. Sometimes, every now and then, if we tell the truth about the matter, life hurts so sometimes you don't even want to get up in the morning. Why? Because you've lived long enough to experience some things. You've lived long enough to understand now that life is not all a bed of ease. Amen. Paul Laurence Dunbar, that brilliant poet, wrote a poem that's simply entitled Life. And Paul Dunbar explained it this way. He said, life is just like a crust of bread. It's a corner to sleep in. It's a minute to smile, but it's an hour to weep in. He says, life is like a pint of joy, but with every pint comes a peck of trouble. You're not going to get through life without some trouble. You're not going to get through life without experiencing some setbacks. You're not going to get through life without some scars. But every rung, every ladder that you climb, he says, the higher you go, you're going to find out something's waiting on you. You're not just going to go up in life and don't experience the pain of growth along the way. You think you're going to make it without paying your dues. I stop by to tell you it's not going to happen. And so what Paul the Apostle and Paul Dunbar is speaking of is the reality of those of us who won't admit it, but publicly we chase success, but privately we've got to come to grips with nothing more than just a mess. Publicly, you on display. Publicly, you hear the applause of the people. Publicly, you shining in the moment. Publicly, you hear the folk talk about how fine. Publicly, you hear them talk about you all this, you all that. Publicly, you hear them say, you got it going on. Publicly, but privately, you deal with the fact that when you're by yourself, nobody else is around. You deal with the inadequacies, the brokenness of your life, the brokenness of your moment. Anybody here willing to admit that on the outside you look successful? On the outside we appear one way, but on the inside we really another way. People, that's our plight. That's our plight as people. We who appear to be on the outside, people who are really making it and doing well, but on the inside, we recognize we do more faking than we do anything else. Why? Because we don't want folk to know that we too have suffered some losses in life. We too have tasted the bitter pill of disappointment. And Paul is saying, I'm no longer worried about what folk think. I'm no longer concerning myself with what you think in terms of whether or not I'm a public success. He said, no, let me tell you something. I've reached the turning point, and I recognize it's time. It's time. Say what you won't, do what you will. But I don't care. I've reached a point in my life that I've got to make some decisions. And listen, here he is. He gives us this spiritual biography. If you look at chapter 3, if you look at verse 1 through 11, he's really talking about his past. And verse 12 through 16, he's talking about his present situation. And then about verse 17 through about verse 21, he talks about his future. He's already talked about him as an accountant. You remember he said, by all things that were gained to me I counted but loss. He portrays himself as an accountant. He says, I've added it up. I've taken what you think of me, compared it to what the Lord thinks of me. And let me tell you where I am. He said, I've decided after adding and subtracting, I'm going with God. Because what I really found out is you really don't give a dime about it. That's all right. You don't have to say amen right there. He looks at the situation. He says, I've created a new value system. There's something now that means more to me than your accolades. He talks about his heritage. He talks about the royaltiness of his blood. He talks about where he come from. He talks about his teachers. He talks about all of the accomplishments of life. But he says, but when I add it all up, he says it still comes up short in comparison to who I really ought to be. And every now and then, you don't mind if I just tell you the truth. If we tell the truth about the matter, not many of us are satisfied with where we are in life. Oh, we do it good and we wear it well, but the truth of the matter is somewhere in the secret recesses of our mind, we know we ought to be doing better. We know we ought to be further along. We know we're not where we should be. We know we're not who we. But right now, Paul speaks to us, and we meet Paul, the athlete, right now in this text in verse 12. We meet Paul, the athlete, and Paul with all of his spiritual vigor. He says, I'm pressing on. He says, and I'm headed for the finish line. I've got the view. Hello. I've got focus now. I've got my perspective right now. I understand life now is not about the attainment of things. I now know with all of the degrees, with all of the, I now know that public opinion. I now know my family means more to me. I now know that they ought to come first. And me second. I now understand that it's about God and my relationship with Him. I now had to go through some stuff to get there. But it's about family. He says, and let me tell you something. I've learned that the hard way. Oh yeah, I learned that the hard way. He says, but let me tell you where I am now. Let me just say, I'm headed for the finish line. Paul says to them, and I'm almost done. Don't get lost. Watch this. He says, don't judge me. Look at your text. He says, I have not obtained already. You think a lot of me. You look at me and you say, look at Paul. He's written 14 books, this globe-trotting preacher. You look at Paul and you say, he has power. He can speak a word and
heaven will respond. You look at me, he says, but with all of those, with all that on my resume, he said, don't you judge me. Why? He said, because I haven't got there yet. He said, can I be honest and candid with you? You think too much of me. Really, I don't see myself as you see me. Look at your text. He looks at his life and he says, I haven't reached the point of spiritual maturity where I'm ready to be a part of this special resurrection that's going to take place. He says, I'm on my way, but the truth of the matter is, I'm not ready yet. He's honest with himself, and as he looks at himself within and without, he says, but let me tell you something. It's important to elevate your life. He says, but while elevating yourself, don't forget to evaluate yourself. Don't forget on your way up. Look at how you're getting there. On your way to having what you want, pay attention what it costs you to get there. He said, don't forget, everything comes with a cost. Yes, you right. Yes, you got it. But don't forget how you got it. Sometimes getting there is half the battle. You want this, that, how you going to get it? And what are you doing to have it? So he says, I've reached the point where I not only just look at elevation, he says, I do some evaluation. He says, and I don't see what you see. He says, but let me tell you what I understand. Life is filled with some crossroads. Life has some crossroads. There's always a time that'll come up in life where you've got a chance to evaluate your past, reflect on your present, and then plan for your future. Life is filled with moments. Life is going to give you some moments where you can stop, look back at your past, and see where you are right now. But don't forget, make some plans for your future. All this talk about I want, I'm going to get me this and I'm going to get me that. He says, and all that's good. Go on and get it. But after you get it, what then? What's going to happen after you get it? He says, listen, can I remind you of something? Can I remind you of something? We've come to God with our sins and he's purged us with his salvation. We've come raggedy and torn, but God has been a solid rock. You don't see. He says, listen, we've come before his presence with our hate, and he's taught us how to love one another. We've come with our misery, and he's sheltered us with a peace that surpasses all understanding. We've come with our trouble, but yet he's been a bridge over our troublesome waters. He says, listen, don't forget, you've come to God. You've dressed up in your dusty rags of rebellion, but God washed us. God washed us clean. God made us righteous. We're not righteous, and some of you have drank the Kool-Aid. Just because you can dress up on the outside, you think that gives you the right to judge folk whose sin you can see. He said, none of us have the right to judge any of us. No, just because you know how to hide it, just because you're a little bit slicker. Just because you haven't been caught. Don't you go pointing your finger. Hold up on that tip you doing. All right. Wait a while. Old preacher once told me, say, son, be careful. There are only two people in this world. The caught and the uncaught. Let that sink in. Oh yeah, you talking now, you bragging now, but grace covered you. If it had not been for the grace of God that covered us. So talk lightly. Here he is, a persecuted apostle, preaching to a persecuted church. Yet his soul is still on fire.
Yeah.
His love for them is burning, and it's burning so deep within. He writes to them in such a touching, a caring, a loving manner. If you read the letter, you can't help but see the love that he has for the church and that they have for him exuding from the letter. And he makes it clear, I'm not one that's on easy street. No. And I'm not writing to those of you because I think you're on easy street. He says, but let me tell you something. God has been my teacher. God has been my help. God has been my way out of dark. God has shown a bright light in some dark places. And so let me tell you what I've learned. He says, number one, you remember last week, he taught me how to lean on.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
He said he taught me how to lean. I don't want to regurgitate that, but he said he taught me some stuff. And now, let me tell you what I learned from it. I learned that I can fall. Not only can I fall, I will fall. Some of you looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. He says, those of you, let him that think he stand take heed, lest he says you may not fall literally, but your fall gonna begin when you start thinking you better than other folks. And you gonna fall. Oh yeah, you point your finger at her children and he says, but let me tell you, I learned some stuff. He learned me some stuff. He says, and I tell you what, I learned not to focus. Did I tell you that? Don't focus on what you lost. Don't focus on who walked out. Don't focus on who left. Don't focus on the job that's no longer. Don't focus on what you lost. He says, because it's in your loss that God teaches you. You got more left over. He says, as a matter of fact, the creative you don't really get to working until God allows you to be put in a position where you have to challenge yourself. So every now and then he'll let you get fired. Not because he's leaving you, but because he wants you to understand you're better than that. Every now and then he'll let them walk out. Why? Because you're better than that. Every now and then he'll let them say, why? Because you're better than that. He said the only way you're going to find that out is until you're not going to find it until I put you in a position where you got to challenge yourself. You can't do nothing but go on. He says, let me tell you something. Here it is. I'm almost done. Here it is. He says, I learned it the hard way. Let me just fix it so you can understand. Because some of you don't think, I almost said that. Old folks used to say, some of y'all don't think. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That just slip out. But he says, listen, let me tell you what the problem is. He said, our prejudices are blinding us.
Amen. Break it down.
Our prejudices are blinding us. You see things one way. And you refuse to let somebody tell you anything different. He said, but I learned God will reshape. God will alter the way you see things. You looking at me strange, but there's somebody here can tell you God will let you get what you want, only to discover after you get it. That didn't look good then, but now you got it. Got you on your knees every day. He said, listen. He says, not only did I learn that, he said, but what I also learned, I'm not going to let my fear paralyze me. No, I'm not going to let fear paralyze me. lest I take too long. He says, listen, I'm not going to let public opinion shape me. I love every one of you, but I don't care. He says, I don't care. I love you, but where I'm going, he says, I'm reaching for him that reached for me. I'm going after him that came after me. Now, who's not going to love a God like that? Paul says, I now want to be with him that wants to be with me. Before I wanted to be with them who didn't care about, but now, somebody here can testify. You didn't want somebody that wanted you, but you got the somebody that. And now you wish you to stay. So he said, public opinion is not going to shake me. He says, and the other thing is, you be careful about your ambition, man. Your ambition will cause you to lose your family. You be careful about your ambition. You somewhere on an island, all by yourself. It's all about what? It's all about me. It's what I want. It's when I want it. It's how I want it. He said, go on and enjoy yourself. But let me tell you what's going to happen. One day, you're going to wake up and you're going to find out that the folk you're living with no longer living with you. Or you're in the house with them, but they ain't in the house. Amen. Go on and live. Go on and do it the way you want to do it. But one day, you're going to come home to a body that nobody lives in. Because you had to do it your way. This is what I do. This is who I am. Know who you are. What God created you. Amen. You got it twisted. You're looking for elevation in the wrong things. Worry about what folk think about you. Worry about what folk think you got. Worry about what folk think you lost. Worry about what folk think you wear. Worry about what folk think you drive. I'm here to tell you, Paul says, I counted it all up, and it still comes up short. Let your ambitions trick you. Tell you something else, girls and boys. If you got to give up who you are to be with them, you really don't need it. You may not like it, but it's true anyhow. I got to become somebody else to hang with you. I got to become somebody else for you to like me. I'm sorry for you. Church out. You should have called him 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Matter of fact, 40, 45 years ago. You should have called him then. But don't fool with me now. I know where I'm headed, he says. He says, and let me tell you what I've determined. I'm going after him. I'm closing. Number 2, he says, let me tell you what else I learned. I learned the perfection of his power. Y'all don't mind if I close right there. Watch this. He says, I learned the perfection of his power. Here he is. He's a son of Jewish parents. He's 13 years old at the time he became a child of the law. He was a brilliant teacher, a law student, a rabbi, raised to be a great teacher and a great thinker. But one day he said, I counted it up. I found out that what I thought was bowling and shot calling really didn't add up. He says, I tell you what I found out. It was all glitter and no gold. It was all thunder and no rain. All promise, but nothing delivered. Anybody here willing to admit the devil make a lot of promises?
Amen.
But he don't ever deliver.
Amen. Come on, help us.
To the wrong crowd. He always keep you right on the precipice of, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to deliver this, and I'm going to deliver that, and I'm going to provide this, and I'm going to provide that. And the next time you're going to find out it's going to be just like you wanted, and I'm going to see to it that the next time, and it's going, and every time the next time comes, there's a letdown. See, what had happened was, why? because he never delivers.
Never. Come on now. Preach that. Never.
He always keeps holding you. He always keeps you bound to the fact that expectation is the way of life. Count on it. You can count on it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring you through. But never does it happen. So he says, that which was gained to me, I counted it loss, because I still had this hole in my heart. I still found out that something was wrong. Even after I got what I went after, when I got it, when I tasted it, when I beheld it, when I felt it, when I handled it, he said it was still empty.
Yeah.
I got on the stage that I thought I wanted to be on, and when I got on that stage, what I found out when I got off the stage, it was still empty. Something was still missing. He said, but I learned that the hard way. He said, but let me tell you something I learned. Let me tell you about the perfection of his power. I learned personally that God, the perfection of his power, I learned it through a storm.
Amen.
I learned it in a storm. Y'all remember the disciples were on a boat with Jesus, and Jesus, when they got on the boat, went down in the hinder part of the ship and went to sleep. And they said, while they were out there on the sea, that a storm arose. And the disciples and the folk on the boat got scared. The boat was reeling and rocking and shaking. They went down, and somebody went downstairs and said, wake him up, wait. Somebody went down there and shook him and said, Master, carest thou not that we perish? Man, we about to die, and you down here asleep. Why you looking at me like some of y'all married to some folk like that? Your situation is of such, and they sleeping. Lights about to get turned off, and he home in just before the power gets shut off. He got to play his last Xbox. Nothing in the house to eat, but he playing. Don't you care that we're about to perish? They say, the Bible says Jesus got up, went out there and rebuked. Hello. And they said, what manner of man is this, that even the storm obey his voice? And if you ask me today, will the Lord lead you in a storm? I'll tell you yes. If you ask me today, will the Lord lead you into a storm of lack? I'll tell you yes. If you ask me, will the Lord lead you into a storm of brokenness? I'll tell you yes. And if you ask me, will the Lord lead you into a storm of loneliness where you have to go home by yourself? I'll tell you yes. But if you ask me this morning, if the Lord will ever lead you, I'll tell you no. No, not ever. No, not never. Never ever will the Lord lead you. Oh, he might lead you into a storm, but he won't never lead you personally. Oh, well, why does he do it, Tucker? Why does he lead me in a storm? Why does he do it? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the Lord thinks he can trust you.
Come on, help us.
You worried about why you have to go through what you're going through? Maybe God thinks he can trust you. Maybe God thinks he can count on you. Maybe God thinks he can get some glory. You want to know why? Maybe he thinks he can trust you when you're broke. Because you're still going to be honest. You're still going to have some integrity. I ain't getting no amens right on there. It could be because you're lacking God. Because you've suffered in God. Maybe because you're going home alone. Maybe the Lord just feels like I can trust him. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it could be that he knows that no matter whatever is happening in your life, no matter whatever the storm is, no matter whatever the test, the trial, or the trouble is, maybe he just believes no matter what they're going through, they're going to be at Fifth Avenue on Sunday morning. No matter what storm arrives, they're going to be there. I don't care. Maybe whatever the lack is, the sickness is, no matter what rises up against you, maybe he trusts you, maybe live or die, sink or swim, he knows you ain't going nowhere. Maybe he's trying to find out if you are who you say you are. Paul says, and I've determined something. It just may be that God's trying to get beyond those layers that folk can't get beyond. Maybe, I don't know. But I do know this, the text says when the storm arose, they woke him up. Hello? Can I tell somebody, when you're going through a storm, he's not going to break you in. Oh, no. You got to invite him in. You got some responsibility in your deliverance. When you're going through something, you got to invite him in. Oh no, he's just not gonna walk up and kick the door. No. You got to show you got some responsibility in this thing. You got to invite him. You got to beckon him. You got to summon him. You got to tell him, Lord, I need you. Expect God to show up and you don't appreciate him enough to even ask him for it. Here you are, need so much and you act so little. Somebody that can do so much. Y'all ought to say, yes, you and me, Jesus. Oh, I know what the problem is. Oprah said, you want to go somewhere and you done had it beat out you. Y'all looking at me this morning. Y'all want to say amen, but you done had it. Amen. Yeah, you done had it. Gotcha. Let me close. Look, listen. No, let me tell you this. Then I'm done. Let me tell you this. When they went down and they woke Jesus up, y'all remember this. Y'all remember when they woke him up? Jesus got up and went up on the boat, went up, and Jesus went up and spoke to the wind, to the sea, and said, peace, be still. I heard one preacher say that Jesus got up and went to see where the storm was, and that sounds good. That sounds good. But let me just tell you something. Jesus don't have to go and see nothing.
No, he don't. Amen.
I'm trying to help you. No. He got up so the storm could see him. No, you can't tell. No, listen. He got up so the storm could see him. And when he walked out there, he just said, peace. Peace. Can I tell somebody that? Listen, God, the Lord will stand up against anything that stands up against you. Can I tell you, if you invite him in, the Lord will stand up no matter what it is, no matter who it is. If God will stand up against whatever stands up against you, you just have to invite him in. Well, he got up and he said, peace. Let him speak to your sickness. Let him speak to your lack. But he said, peace. Listen, there's a word picture in Philippians chapter 3. The text began by saying, beware of them dogs. Yeah. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Verse 2, he talks about beware of them dogs. Beware. A word picture. He gives us a word picture. It's the picture of an owner that has a dog. And this dog is so vicious. Everybody that comes by, the owner, the dog terrorizes. You know, folk walk by with their little children, the dog snapping at them, biting at them. But it gives us a picture. When Jesus gets up and he says, peace, it's the same picture that he says. It's like an owner of a dog where he takes a muzzle and he puts over the dog's mouth. He quiets the dog. Paul says, when something rises up against you, God is like an owner.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
He puts a muzzle
Right.
on whatever you bothering the child. You terrorizing my child. You doing injustice to my. God puts a muzzle on whatever bothers you. But he said, you gotta learn some stuff to know that. You can't deal with stuff the way you try to deal with it. Or that some things you can't be ungenerated in handling. You can't have a spiritual outcome. Hello? To some conflicted. Y'all mess. You want to handle it messy, but you want the outcome. He said, don't handle it. So I've learned the power. I've learned the power of his perfection. It is in how you view. It's in how you view how things going to turn out. If you believe it's going to be all right, he says it's going to be all right. But if you're always down, then it's not going to turn out. Y'all stand up. Come on, stand up. He says, listen, I'm pressing on. In verse 12, he talks about pressing on. Verse 14, he talks about pressing on. I'm headed to my finish line now. I got this thing straightened out. My focus is clear. I'm no longer confused about how I'm going to get there. I'm no longer confused about who it is and how I made it this far. He says, and I've determined that I'm forgetting what's behind me and reaching forward to what's before me. I'm going to press on. I'm going to press on. Maybe next week we'll talk about pressing on. I didn't get there this morning, but that's all right. Y'all stay right where you are. He said, but listen, you need to understand what you learn. What you learn. And then you need to be able to process. The perfection of his power is not in you thinking that you understand it. No, it's in you surrendering to his power. And then maybe we get there where he tells us it's our faith that's going to cause us to press on. It's your faith. You say, well, Tucker, I'm not doing good. How's your faith? You say, Tucker, I need prayer, such and such. The question I have is, how's your faith? You say, Tucker, the devil, how's your faith? Tell me how your faith is, and I'll tell you how it's going to turn out. Tell me how your faith is. So I need you to understand. Listen, I'm done. Car salesman closed up his business, car dealership owner. Closed up his business one night, last one to leave. When he walked out to the car, two men beat him and robbed him and accosted him, tied him up, threw him in the trunk of his car, took him out to a remote place, tied him up, bound him, even further with duct tape and threw him. They slit his throat, they cut his throat and threw him in a hole, and then they covered him up with dirt. And he laid in that hole thinking to himself, Lord, why have you allowed this to happen to me? Why have you brought me to this? And why did you allow? And somewhere in there, all of a sudden, it started raining. And when it started raining, something about the rain mixed with the dirt loosened up the duct tape on his hands. he's there, he's about to die, but all of a sudden he can wiggle his hands, and he managed to get himself free and untie himself. Got up and got on the road and stopped somebody, took him to the hospital, and they took him in there, and they got him stitched up and cleaned up. And so when he was recovered, somebody asked him, how did you do it? He said, well, I really can't tell you I did. He said, the only thing I can remember was I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling sorry about what I've gone through. I was feeling bad. They had cut my throat. Then they threw me in a hole. They duct taped me in. They threw dirt in my face. He said, but let me tell you what I learned. He said, when the rain stopped, while I thought it was going from bad to worse, the rain loosened up the duct tape. And when they covered me up, the dirt they threw in my face sealed up the wound. The dirt got in the wound and stopped the bleeding. He said, and what I found out, that it was the dirt that saved my life. Can I tell somebody as I go to my seat this morning, it's not about how righteous you are. It's about the dirt that God's going to use to clean you up. You worried about what other folks think of the dirt in your life, but it's the dirt that God uses to save you. Well, how do I know that? Because all of us stand at a distance from God. And God will use whatever dirt there is in your life to help you come to him. Help you realize you need him. God uses dirt. God uses what other folk use to kill you. God will use that to save you. So while on one hand folk are holding it up as a banner that you're not all this, God is holding it up and saying, come. Come. Let me help you. Let me help you deal with the attitudes and the altering lifestyles of people. One day they love you, and the next day they don't even like you. He says, I can use that. And so if you're here this morning and you're not a child of God, let me tell you, you come. You come to him. You're not coming to us. You're coming to God. You come by believing that Christ died for your sins, was buried, that he rose again. You can believe that with all of your heart. Allow us to baptize you in water for the remission of your past sins. That's what the Bible says in Acts 2:38. I didn't make that up. The Bible says you must be born again. Amen. And after you rise to walk in the newness of life, God, fellowship of the Holy Spirit, his son Jesus Christ. We're asking you now, if you need to come, if you need prayer, you do it right now. While together we sing the song of invitation. Will you come?
Open the floodgates of heaven, let it rain, oh Lord. Hey, I said open the floodgates of heaven. I really need to let it rain down. Amen.